Okay, Sudarshan, thanks for that. That's a couple of trading strategies for this morning, settling down on a reasonable note. In fact, 5600 plus on the Nifty. So let's see, maybe we've got a bit of a surprise going in opening. Vetri Subramaniam of Religare joins in to talk about the market. Vetri, hi, good morning. Good to see you in. How are you feeling about the tail end of the year? Do you think there is still a chance for the market to make it to that 6,000 and beyond, or is this going to be the grind phase?
I think the whole year has gone like this. There have been phases where the market's been more trended, and other phases where it's done nothing much. I think it's likely to persist in this sort of fashion even going ahead. The global scenario still looks fairly mixed and gloomy, and even at home, where we've seen a little bit of pickup in sentiment in the month of September and October, and some signs that decision making is starting to pick up again. There's again a little bit of a vacuum over there, and I think there's a lot more that needs to be done in terms of implementation to really get the economy moving again, or starting to put it back on a high growth trajectory. So really I think at this point of time, the kind of themes or the kind of basis for the market to do a significant move is quite limited. We are continuing to see a lot of stocks move around, and perhaps it's more important now to focus on those stock opportunities rather than really look for any significant trend in the near term.
Vetri, hi, good morning. Thanks for joining us on the show. What is the realistic expectations from the winter session of the Parliament this time around?
Well, we are going to keep our expectations fairly muted. I think if anything comes out of it, we'll be quite pleased. Actually, politics has been a little bit of a mess, not just in India, but pretty much everywhere across the globe. And in a sense, I think markets across the world are having to deal with the fact that now political logjams are actually dominating economic decision making, and not the other way around. So this is really a harsh reality that we are faced with now. There's a lot that the government will need to do in terms of legislative reform, but at the same time there's a lot that can be done which falls outside the purview of the legislature, which is in the realm of administrative reform, which is in the realm of just quicker decision making which is aimed at clearing the backlog of stalled investments across the country at this point of time. So not everything that needs to be done really needs to go through Parliament, and I think if we just have the view of every day something needing to be done to get this economy moving again, I think then we'll start to make progress. But I think our expectations per se are fairly muted.
So after looking at the spectrum auction failure, what are you expecting to see in terms of a fiscal consolidation roadmap from the government itself? Do you think they'll be able to deliver to meet that fiscal deficit target?
Very hard to see how they can deliver on that number, and eventually you can conjure up some numbers and report those as being the fiscal deficit for the year. But I think in practical terms it's very clear that revenue is sluggish. The non-revenue sources of income such as auctions, disinvestment, etc. are not really taking off. So there is going to be some slippage relative to the target, and as much as the government might reiterate the target, I think the market is already working on the expectation that there will be some slippage. And in our own expectations, while we do hope that this government will take some decisions to get the investment cycle moving again, we are far more muted in our expectations of them being able to curtail the fiscal deficit, given the kind of political events that are likely to take place in the country over the next year and a half leading up to a general election. History tells us that governments have not been particularly disciplined as far as the fiscal deficit is concerned in the run-up to a general election. So I'm not willing to bet against that at this point of time.
So what's the approach at this point, Vetri, that it's going to remain in a bit of a grind with the occasional trading rallies? Because a lot of people felt left out after what happened in September and the fact that they didn't participate. Do you think they're going to get that opportunity again?
It depends on what your focus is. If you're talking about the 5 and 10% moves, then yes, you could justifiably feel left out. But the harsh reality is that the market is exactly where it was at some point of time last year. It's traded at the same level in 2008 and 2009 and 2010, 2011, 2012. So really we've made no progress as a market. So if you're a trader and you're focused on these short-term moves, then that's a completely different story. But as an investor, the market's not not made much progress, and I don't think one should get too carried away by these sharp rallies, or for that matter these sharp falls. I think what's more important is really the fact that from a valuation standpoint, and that's where we really place our greatest emphasis, the market is trading sort of slightly cheaper than average in terms of valuations. It's not as attractive as it was maybe in December of last year, or maybe even May or June of this year, but neither is it as expensive as it was even in late 2010. So there is a fair degree of valuation comfort, and I think the only approach that will work in the current circumstances is for investors to sort of gradually invest in this market, not so much on hopes that there is going to be a dramatic turnaround in the near term, but just that if you manage to get into the market and in companies, more importantly at the right valuations, as and when growth comes back, there will be significant opportunities for capital appreciation. So really I don't think there is any substitute to being patient at this point of time.
So you don't subscribe to the view that next year might see the heralding of some kind of a bull market start? You think it's going to be pretty much more of the same?
I'm quite happy with where we are placed in terms of our portfolios. We've not taken a huge bet on a macro revival, neither are we betting on macro slipping back dramatically. So if things work out well and the markets do well, I think we're quite happy with the way our portfolios are positioned to be able to benefit from it, because we've always invested on the basis in recent times that we want to be in those companies that are up and running and will be able to benefit from any macro upturn, but we don't really have the visibility to tell you or to believe that there is going to be a macro upturn in the next 6 months or 12 months or 2 years. And even when we talk to a lot of the companies, the thing that we are seeing is that companies are still talking the language of cost cutting, they are talking the language of delevering, they are talking about restructuring their businesses. So it's a little difficult to see how you can really get the economy running back onto a high growth trajectory in the near term. Now it's not necessarily that market performance is completely correlated with what happens on the macro or a revival in growth trajectory. So therefore, from a fund management perspective, as I said, we are quite happy betting on companies which will benefit from growth. We are not having to overpay for valuations. That's the good part. But we're not really aggressive in terms of saying that there's going to be a macro turnaround, and I don't think that's a call we need to take at this point of time.
Okay, Vetri, stay on. Lots more to talk about, but preparing now for the opening rates. Pre-opening, as I said, didn't do too badly. In fact, it was a 5600 plus tick on the Nifty, and there was a bunch of these rate sensitives that did all right by the close of pre-opening. So let's see how things open up today. Remember, Asia is quiet and our opening rate is up, well, close to 100 actually for the Sensex. So it's a good enough start. The Nifty opens above 5600, 40 points up for the Nifty straight off the bat. That's up about 0.7 of a percentage point. So not too bad for starters. In fact, stronger than what the SGX has been suggesting. And now the market moves a little bit higher. So you've got the Nifty trading above 5600 and 120 point odd rally for the Sensex. Let's focus on a couple of stocks and sectors before we get back to the indices. It is some of these auto stocks that were looking strong yesterday as well that carry on the good work. Tata Motors opens up about 2%, so there is some strength that's coming in on that one. Maruti as well opens up 1%, so that space isn't looking too bad. Some recovery on a few of these cement stocks that have got quite a drubbing. So Ambuja is up about 1.5%, JP Associates up about 1.5%, some buying coming into those spaces. And then there's a few private sector banking names like ICICI Bank and Axis that open up in the green. So it's really sporadic and spread all over the place, but there is some strength on various sectors, and that seems to be helping the market along. Now it's more tempered for the Nifty, so it's just settling down above that 5600 mark, but not doing too much to gain on those levels. So it's up about 0.5% for the frontline indices. HDFC, another recent and big mover now. There is weakness on faces like Ultratech and Grasim. On the other hand, there's also a little bit of weakness on Lever. That stock has been dragging these last few days. And just keep an eye out on some of these energy stroke oil stocks because of what's been happening with crude prices globally. That hasn't looked comfortable. Only recently some of these companies cut their petrol prices. I imagine they may have to do a rethink. So watch out for things like ONGC, HPBP. Otherwise, it looks like a decent opening. It's 5600 plus for the Nifty, and there's a bunch of rate sensitives, as I said, that have opened up in the green. But here's the mid caps and how they've done in opening. Sonia.
Well, it's a good opening for the mid-cap index too. So 0.6% in the green. The advanced decline ratio is up and about. Remember, it's important to track the mid-caps because yesterday, while the overall market picture was flat, the mid-caps were down about 1%. So today, it's seen some amount of recovery. In terms of individual stocks, Reliance Capital is up almost about 2.5%. So volumes are picking up on that one. There's some news reports that they're in talks to sell 26% stake in their general insurance arm. So keep that stock on your radar. Shrey Infrastructure continues its up move, so another 2% up move on that particular counter. ITNL should be up for you on your screen as well. There was a rate of about 2.5% that we saw on that account. We told you earlier that JP Morgan has invested about 530 crores in AP Expressway, which is an SPV floated by ITNL. IL&FS Engineering should also be up for you on the screen. I think I saw a big move on that one, so there's a 4% rally that you're seeing on that particular name. Ashok Leyland up almost about 1.5%. It's been a trading favorite of late, so that one bounces back as well. And you do have a lot of these trading names like IFCI, GVK Power, India Bulls Real Estate, Suzlon, etc. that are seeing gains of anywhere between 1 to 1.5% apiece. On the downside, NHPC has lost about 0.6%. L&T Financial Holdings has lost about 0.8% or so. And you do have names like NTPC as well that are down just a tad bit. But otherwise, there are no complaints for the market. It is stocks like Reliance Capital, etc. that are moving well. Polaris is up almost about 2% as there are reports that the company will sell its arm Eden Trust in the next 1 year. So that's some news flow that's trickling in on Polaris as well. And from the frontliners, it's names, auto names like Tata Motors, etc. that are doing well with a gain of 1.5%. So it's the trading side of the market, Mithali, that's active. You do have your usual suspects, infrastructure, real estate, some of these aviation stocks, etc. that are in the green this morning.
And the Nifty stabilizing around 5600. Just a few more faces to keep on your radar. The new or more recent listing, Tribhuvan Das, up 25% this month, and that stock moves in the green today as well. So that's really been on the go. There's Jubilant Foodworks. We were speaking earlier about a bullish brokerage report on that. So Jubilant opens in the green, up nearly 2.5%. And SKS Micro has been seeing a lot of fund buying. In fact, that stock's been on a tear in the last 2 months. So SKS is up almost 5% today. Good start for that one. Otherwise, the market is doing all right. Like I said, reasonable start for it. Vetri, which of the catalysts do you think are going to be the most important determinant for the market? Will it be politics, as we were discussing? Does it come down to global cues? Or is there still a belief that it's going to be the RBI that's going to do the heavy lifting and the pushing for next year for the market?
But my sense is it's a little bit of a mix of all of these. I wouldn't point to one or the other as being, the only or sole driver of some turnaround. But if there is something which is right at the center of any sort of turnaround in the economy, then I think that is really the investment cycle, because we need to figure out a way to get the investment cycle moving again. It's not just a driver of growth, it also creates the productive capacity that we need to ensure that we can grow at high rates without inflation raising its head. Otherwise, we'll always be in this sort of very, very short bursts of growth followed by sharp slowdowns. So I think, to my mind, the investment cycle and the revival of that is really the key to having a sustainable economic trajectory and a market performance then correlated with that. Everything else is a lot of noise, and I think we just have to be patient for this process to play out, because as I made the point earlier, there's a lot that needs to be done on the policy front, on the administration and decision making front. Equally, we've got to give the system some time to recover. I think the most encouraging thing that we've seen over the last year is the fact that now companies are having to focus on deleveraging their balance sheets. They're starting to take the hard decisions in terms of disposing assets, trying to restructure their balance sheets. But remember, that's not the easiest environment in which to get the investment cycle moving again. Most of the companies which were at the forefront of the investment cycle boom during the 2003-2008 period all have fairly damaged balance sheets at this point of time and are all looking to deliver. So that is a challenge in terms of getting the investment cycle moving again. And again, if you move to the banks are bleeding, at least a large number of them are bleeding with a significant problem on non-performing assets. So who's going to fund the investment cycle is equally a challenge. So to my mind, there's no point looking for these short-term triggers. These are fairly, challenging issues. It will require patience and time to address some of them. And some of these will get addressed only as entrepreneurs take the decisions to sort of clean up their balance sheets and move on. And this is where we are looking for opportunities to invest, which are those companies which are well placed to benefit from an upturn in the economic cycle, which are the companies which are doing the right things to clean up their balance sheets, and we think there can be unlocking of value if they do that. So those are the opportunities to focus on at this point of time, and not so much to get caught up in this argument about the macro and whether we are bottoming, whether we are improving, whether the global economy is going to do better or not. I'm just willing to back the Indian entrepreneur at this point of time to do a good job. I'm not so certain about the global environment, and I'm certainly not betting on a big boost of reforms or decision making coming from the government. But if we back the right entrepreneurs, I think eventually over time from these valuations there will be money to be made.
Talking about one sector in particular, Vetri, as the RBI embarks on an easing of the rate cycle, in 2013, would it make sense to back the banking sector now, or do you think it's tough to paint the entire sector with the same brush and you'll have to pick stocks within the private sector space itself despite heavy or high valuations?
Well, two things. First of all, I think there's unnecessary focus on whether RBI is going to cut the repo rate or not. The fact is, given the I think 150 basis points of CRR cut that they have already done over the course of this year, you've actually got CRR at its lowest level in the last decade. In fact, it's the lowest level in almost 30 years. So in a sense, they have already pumped in liquidity into the market, and you can see that in the marketplace where a lot of the market interest rates have actually gone down, whether it is CDs, whether it is commercial paper. They've actually drifted lower over the course of this year, also driven partly by the fact that obviously credit demand has been very, very soft. So there is already a lowering of rates in the market irrespective of RBI action. I think you will see some RBI action next year, but I think the trajectory for longer term rates will be determined more by the fact that demand for credit is weak, and therefore I do think rates will drift down. This will give the banks some opportunity to sort of start to clean up their balance sheets, but many of them continue to face significant headwinds on their asset quality issues, and I think there's a lot of infrastructure exposure as well, which will go into the non-performing category, or will have to at least be restructured to bring those companies back into some sort of financial health from which they can hope to recover. So I think some of that pain is still there, and you will have to be a little bit stock specific, and I think there are lots of other businesses as well which will benefit from lower interest rates. So you don't have to limit your you don't have to limit your stock picking to banks on the basis of a reduction in interest rates. A lot of other companies that will benefit, a lot of other sectors that will benefit, and better to take a holistic view than rather just focus only on the banks.
Okay, then we'll take a short break on that note. It's a stable opening for the market. 5600, 5598 or thereabouts is the pivot point for the market now. So 0.5% gain is what we're seeing. When we come back, we'll give you a gist of the mid caps and the small caps. Stay with us.
Okay, Reema, thanks for that. Things are stable for the market. First signs of a cool-off on telecom though this morning. Bharti and Idea have come off a little bit, between 1.5% to 0.5%. Vetri, on that point you made about starting to pick stocks, how do you do that? In the sense, do you still go with the premium valuations for the trusted performance, or are you beginning to look at new spaces? Because we've seen a lot of new sectors performing. There's media, there's spirits, beverages.
Yeah, I mean, I think, one of the challenges that we're also experiencing at this point of time is the fact that it's a bit of a twin track market, and therefore anything that's seen as being very safe and secure and sort of non-cyclical in nature is trading at the premium end of valuations relative to their own historical past, and things which are more cyclical in nature have sort of been trashed down to the lower end of their valuation ranges relative to their own past. So, really I think the way we're looking at this is that you need to therefore not get tied into into one or the other themes. Neither is this a moment to sort of lock yourself into high-priced companies where you can then regret at leisure over the next 3, 4, 5 years, because those high valuations that you're paying for them today means that you will not benefit too much even if their earnings do well. Neither do you want to get overexposed into companies where valuations have been trashed if they don't have balance sheets, if they don't have strong business fundamentals, and will not be able to participate in the next macro upturn. But I think the key over there therefore is really to sort of balance out the portfolio, make sure that you've got exposure to both parts of the market, to really all parts of the market in that sense, and try to get the best mix that you can of valuations and growth prospects. We're not too focused on near-term earnings growth for the simple reason that we believe that the macro environment is still challenging. We don't think there's a significant turnaround in the macro environment that's coming immediately. So when we are looking at a lot of the cyclical businesses, we're not really factoring in a significant macro upturn or earnings upturn, but what we are looking for is whether these valuations are already indicating a lack of forward earnings growth, and if that is the case, then we think that valuations still make a very compelling case for us to look at these businesses. So really I think the trick at this point is to try and sort of balance out your portfolio a little bit like a balanced diet. You need to have a little bit of everything in your portfolio, I believe, at this point of time. There will be a time, sometime down the road again, where macro or a theme will start to dominate again, and at that time you can take that call, but at this time I really think it's all about having a healthy balance.
So two-part question, Vetri. What do you like in this phase 2? Because a lot of people have made the premise that this is the early makings of a bull market, which you don't seem to agree with. And the second, would you do this differently in terms of what you invest in for next year between fixed income, other asset classes and equity? Do you increase or decrease exposure anywhere?
On the second part of your question, if I were to go look at this issue simply based on valuations, then I think clearly there is a case that equity valuations are, very much in the comfort zone. And while it's hard to predict what might happen over the course of the next 6 or 12 months, I think history tells you that if you've, invested in the market at these sort of valuations and been patient over a 3 to 5 year period, there's typically been money to be made. So I think the case for equity is reasonably compelling. It's reasonably compelling relative to other asset classes which I believe have done well over the recent years, which is essentially gold and real estate. As far as fixed income is concerned, we do believe that there will be some cycling down of rates over the course of the next year as this demand for credit stays weak. So there could be a little bit of money to be made by riding the yield curve down over there as well. But I think equities really are where I would focus on if I had a 3 to 5 year perspective. And I think one really needs to work with that sort of perspective at this point of time. To my mind, it's still very premature to start to call a bottom to the economy at this point of time, and I see a lot of dichotomy between when we talk to companies and what they're actually coming out and saying sometimes in public. When we talk to them, they're talking more in terms of the language of deleveraging, cost cutting, running a tight ship, and then when they talk in public, sometimes we hear them talk about, yes, the economy is recovering, we're enthused by recent government action, but that's not really translating into their actions as yet. So I'm still a little bit wary on that front.
If one wanted to take an investment rationale depending on the corporate earnings performance that we've seen so far, Vetri, what are the strengths that you have identified where it would make sense to incrementally plow more money?
Well, I think the last quarter's earnings, at least the earnings numbers per se, actually ended up doing a little bit better than what we had anticipated. I think the worry is that revenue growth continues to not only be sluggish, but is actually showing declining growth trajectory in terms of the change in growth. So that's a little bit of a concern. But I think, as far as earnings are concerned, and just given this recent trajectory, perhaps a lot of the slowdown in earnings is already reflected in the consensus forecast at this point of time. So we're not too worried about earnings trajectory, and what we are also seeing is that some of the companies are finding levers to manage their profitability fairly well during a challenging macro environment. So I think bottom up, we're still finding companies that we think can deliver mid-teens kind of earnings growth next year as well. But it's a very mixed picture. So even within a specific sector, you've got one set of companies which could perhaps deliver you mid-teen earnings growth, and in the same sector you've got companies headed for, I think, a fairly sharp decline in earnings or maybe flat earnings next year as well. So the sector-driven, macro-driven themes are really not visible at this point of time, and therefore I'll again go back to my previous point that it's really all about trying to get the stock picking right at this point.
Okay, well, it seems like that's what's taking place in the markets as well. A lot of these niche stories like TBZ, Jubilant Foodworks, VIP, Talwalkars, etc. are getting picked up today, so perhaps there's some fervor over them. But here's Sudarshan Sukhani with his picks for trade. When we come back, we'll start talking to the corporates.
Come to a point where they are saying we've had small corrections, and if the